being so spread out. We talked about utilizing some of these existing working groups, like the Elkhorn Restoration Committee. If there's groups that have already been stood up, how can we tap into those kind of collaborative groups to help us, get this right? So one thing I'd like to, for you guys to be involved with is probably in the early, September, October timeframe. We're going to be working with probably an outside facilitator, because this is just so much for us to handle internally. But we'd like to probably sit down with you guys and conduct like a stakeholder interview for about an hour or two of your time, and really talk to you guys about what you feel like would work best for your constituents in your community here. So that's coming. But anyway, so we'll go through this process of with this really intense public involvement and engagement to help revise the plans. And then we'll do the NEPA process, and we'll probably prepare one environmental impact statement for the plan. That's probably not going to happen until at least a year and a half from now. So the whole process is supposed to take about 4 years. So like Corey said, we're really just starting. So we just want to take this opportunity to let you guys know what's going on. And then, figure out a way that we can kind of all work together as we go through this process. So anyway, so I'm going to kind of jump around a little bit here, and you guys can take this back and read some of this on your own. I don't need to kind of read this to you. But so like I said, this is kind of like a 3-tiered process, and right now we're just in the very first stage, which is the assessment. Then we'll work on the plan revision, which will be the majority of, probably a 3-year process. And then once we have our plan and it's signed, it's probably, we're talking 2018 now, then we move into a monitoring phase where there's certain components of the plan that will focus on monitoring to make sure that we're, how are we meeting our objectives, how are the resources, being impacted, just to kind of stay in touch and kind of have that adaptive management piece to it. That's 2018 and beyond for the life of the forest plan. I can't even think that far yet. Anyway, so so I kind of listed some of the different resources that we're going to be looking at in the assessment. And it's very wide ranging, it's everything from vegetation, wildlife species. We're going to be looking at, tribal uses of the forest, things like renewable and non-renewable energy, minerals, land status and ownership. And then, like I said, there's this other piece to it, which is we're basically doing our revisions under a new rule that came out in 2012. And there's a real strong emphasis on the social, cultural, and economic conditions of the forest, and then also all those benefits that people obtain from the forest. So, I think what's most important is on the second to last slide, there's a how people can get involved. And if you guys can help us in getting this word out to your constituents, we tried to, there's been several articles in the media that we've tried to get the word out about the open houses and just plan revision in general. But specifically, all of our information is on the website, which you have the information there. So we'll have all the open houses that we'll be having. There's some information on the website. If there's any community groups that you think might benefit from us coming out and doing a brief presentation, we're more than willing to do that. Like I mentioned, we'll be in touch with the commissioners with setting up what we're going to call stakeholder interviews, probably September, October timeframe. We have an email address if anybody has any comments that they'd like to provide. We're also going to be setting up an electronic mailing list where the public can self-subscribe to any projects, not just plan revision, but hopefully we're going to get to the point where all of our project updates for different ranger districts or the forest as a whole are all on the same site, and the public will be able to choose what they want to hear about. quick, but, so, just to kind of recap, so we're really just starting, but we really do want folks' input on, what's wrong with our current plans, you know, what needs to change. And then, we're gonna kind of take all that information and go back and work on this assessment, and then we'll probably, be talking to you guys again when we actually start on the plan revision process. So, that's really all I had. Do you guys have any questions or comments at this point?
Questions?
Not really. There's no tribal in Lewis and Clark and Helena horses there at all.
No, tribal,
Yeah, I know that gets.
well, we have a lot of tribal usage of the forests. So that's gonna be, and I wanna say there's maybe 5 or 6 tribes there.
Oh, is that right? 'Cause I know
Yeah.
there's water rights and all that, and it's getting to be quite an issue, it seems like, and I didn't really be involved in this too.
So I think the tribal, I mean, a big part of it is gonna be kind of from what I call the heritage or the cultural resources and how the tribes have historically used the forest, but then we'll also be looking at how they currently use the forest, and if there's, you know, important places, we're definitely gonna document that in the assessment.
And there'll be, each resource area has kind of their own section in these forest plans, and so there'll be a cultural heritage that will, and again, it's, you know, these documents, as you guys are probably familiar, they are really more a broader kind of guiding document.
Sure.
And then when it comes to doing a site scale implementation, you know, we dive into a whole nother planning process and do NEPA specifically for that. So for example, Cabin Gulch or whatever. And at that time, those are the opportunities that we'll use this forest plan as kind of our guiding document, but we'll reach out and try to partnership or collaborate with, you know, some of the tribes or some of the local community for a site scale project and try to address maybe more of a site scale issue that pops up with a planning area.
Yeah, so as Corey said, this is kind of more like a zoning document. It's not gonna be site specific. And then something else that I included in your packets, we had to kind of figure out how to tackle this huge landscape that we have. So what, at least for the assessment, we're breaking it down into geographic areas. This new 2012 planning rule definitely emphasizes a larger ecosystem approach where you're looking at, you know, everything on a broader landscape. So, this is kind of our attempt to break this huge, both these forests down into kind of manageable chunks. So in the assessment, we'll cover, so I guess for the Broadwater County, you know, we have the Elkhorns, it's gonna be one geographic area, and then the Big Belts will be another one, just to kind of tackle this beast, so.
And on that note, there's a corner of the Elkhorns, the southern part, that's actually the Beaverhead Deer Lodge National Forest. But like Aaron just said, we don't want to get caught up with a line on a map. We want to be able to manage the landscape the way we're supposed to, and because of that, we're going to be able to add their corner of the Elkhorns into this revision process, which is really neat. So we're not just cutting something off on a map or something. And I'll just add, I think it's very needed in my opinion. Like Aaron said, having a document that's almost 30 years old, things change, landscape change, planning efforts change, and like Aaron mentioned, we've got several new national planning rules and planning documents that have come out. A new one in 2012. We've got some new NEPA process and category exclusions that are helping try to make our management a little more efficient. And so it's kind of neat timing because we're going to take what's been coming out recent and try to blend this into our new forest plan. And I've been here, this is my 6th week, I think, and have to say I'm impressed with the way Bill, our forest supervisor, has prioritized this project. I think we've got good infrastructure in place with just that we have a team leader and a whole team, dedicated to this project. Hopefully we'll get through it in 4 years. Some of the other forest plans that I'm familiar with, the revision part, it's a process, and sometimes it definitely takes longer than 4 years. But it seems like we've got a pretty good roadmap in place, and hopefully we'll be able to get through it. So.
Will the marrying of the Helena and the Lewis and Clark
Mhm.
forests in this plan have anything to do with the ranger districts?
No, we're still gonna be the Townsend Ranger District. We do manage, we have like David's back now, you know, our fire program is what we consider a zoned fire program. So David's the fire management officer for both the Helena Ranger District and the Townsend, but, you know, Heather DeGeese, as you guys know Heather, you know, she's the district ranger for the Helena and I'm the district ranger for the Townsend. And as of right now, there's absolutely no discussion of changing boundaries. From the view of the public, there's still gonna be the Lewis and Clark National Forest and the Helena National Forest. But administratively, we're gonna start trying to combine and share more resources. And so that means we might have our range folks going over to White Sulphur Springs to help out on some projects over there. But at the end of the day, we're still gonna be the Townsend Ranger District. We're just trying to look for some ways to increase efficiency between the two forests. And we now only have one forest supervisor. So we're just kind of trying to pull that all together.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the end of the day, it's still gonna be the Townsend Ranger District.
Well,
Okay.
I think this is good because, you know, like Corey said, we're still gonna be two forests, we're just one forest staff, you know? That, and what I'm seeing, you know, this is really the first project where we've kind of crossed boundaries on a lot of stuff. But it's good because it's forcing us to kind of standardize all of our data, you know, and our analyses. You know, I think maybe one forest did something one way and another forest did the other way, and it's kind of forcing us to look at everything in a new light and see what is the best way to do, you know, a timber analysis or a wildlife analysis. And so we're kind of taking two different, and not everything is different, but there are some differences just because it was two separate staffs. And so I think this is a real positive thing. I mean, it's challenging on some ends because we're having to standardize everything, but I think in the end, this is really gonna lead to a lot of efficiencies and really make sure that we're using the best available science as we move forward on this revision.
I have one more question
Mhm.
about the revision plan. You said the old plan was from 1986, and there's been a lot of problems with that notorious single stamp on an envelope that can stop an entire plan. Of course, we worked with Heather
Mhm.
a couple years ago on one. Will this help to not only streamline that process, but also to do something to hinder these groups that are able to stop these projects? Will this be a tool?
That's the hope, and that's, yes, I would like to think that this will, you know, without getting into specifics,
Right.
that this will be, allow us with maybe some more flexibility and, you know, we keep hearing this word adaptive management, and I think that was the point of this new 2012 rule, is to kind of,
Exactly.
you know, move down that path, and if things, you know, aren't playing out how we thought they are, or, you know, the science has changed,
Mhm.
you know, we can still go back and do the amendments. There is, you know, and I think there's a lot of lessons learned from the old plans. And when we move forward on things like, you know, I know the elk cover is a big
Yep.
issue in the forest plans, and has really prevented us maybe from taking on certain actions that we normally, you know, might have, you know, progressed on, and things like that, we will really, you know, sharpen our pencils on that and make sure that we get it right this time, so.
And you know, to be clear though, I mean, that's not the reason we're doing this. We're doing it
Sure.
because this needs to get done. And like Aaron said, we have some, you know, so this document has standards and guidelines for all these different resource areas. And for example, the Elkhorns, as you guys are probably very familiar, we have some standards from that 86 plan that basically anytime we want to do something, we have to look at amending, and doing a forest plan amendment, which is a process. And so the landscape's changed, things have changed, and we need to update it for that. We're hoping that it will provide us some increased efficiency through our NEPA process and our plan process. At the end of the day, that's all still going to be there though. You know, the NEPA process is an opportunity to get all of our partners and stakeholders involved and the public involved. But we are hoping that the new plan will be, you know, tied in conjunction with some of the new stuff coming in from our national office, will provide us some new efficiency. And one thing we're excited about at a national level we haven't moved forward with anything yet, is what we call the Farm Bill. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that or not. We have different phases in our NEPA planning, but it's what we call a category exclusion, which allows us to really streamline our NEPA process. And that Farm Bill just came out from our Washington office, and it really is trying to loosen up the sideboards a little bit, to address maybe a little larger projects instead of having to go through more of a lengthy, environmental assessment or full NEPA process. And so, our hope is the forest plan will help align with some of those other tools that we have out there, and hopefully will minimize what you're talking about. But at the end of the day, that will be something we still have to address with every project we go through. Hopefully we'll be maybe a little more sound and using new science and some new planning rules, and it'll go a little more efficiently.
And I just wanna add that, I mentioned a few times that we're looking to folks to help us, what's broken with the plan. There's a lot of good stuff that's in the plans, and if there's things that are working, there's no need, there may not be a need to change those things. So it's not just, what's broken, but I guess it's also what's working and what has really let us kind of adaptively manage these forests with the current standards and guidelines in the plan, so. Yep.
Well, it sounds like it's very much needed, but it
Yeah.
also sounds like you've got a good track that you're looking to go down.
Yeah, we do, and, we're not the first forest in this region to undergo this process. The Flathead, in Region 1, the Flathead National Forest and then the Nez Perce Clearwater are also, they're about a year or two ahead of us, so they have a lot of good lessons learned, and we talk to them frequently about what's working and what's not, and trying to see how they're tackling their public engagement processes. And so, we have some good resources at our hand, so hopefully that'll, really help when we start actually getting into the meat of this.
Yeah, it's a advantage of being first.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, so, although I gotta say, they're in these nice, 3 or 4 counties, and they're much more compact than when we look at our forests.
They don't have 20 plus counties spread out.
Yeah, but that's, we'll figure out a way to make it work. So, do you guys have any other questions?
I don't know anything else.
All right, well, thanks for letting us come and, kind of get the word out, and we will definitely be in touch with you guys soon.
Yeah, any questions, just, you feel free to get hold of me. I probably won't have the answer, but I'll help you get an answer and a timely response. Basically calling in, so.
All right, thanks again.
That sounds good.
Thank you, Aaron. Cool. Well, I just had a few other things that I wanted, if we were all coming here, I wanted to kind of take advantage of just basically updating you guys on a couple other things going on in the district. And then, so I'll dive into that real quick. Just a couple programs that I wanted to highlight. Our land acquisition program. We got some pretty neat things going on right now. We do a lot of partnership work with the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. You guys are, I'm sure, very aware of that. And, probably more so, a lot of great range program and doing some fence removal. Tracy, our range lead, just led a great fence removal project this last Saturday, kind of in the Kimber Gulch area. It was a really neat 4 miles of fence, I think, something.
It'd be about 5 miles, yeah.
Okay, 5 miles of fence, it's just really neat. And then, they do a lot of work with David in the fire program, helping us do some field treatment. But another partnership opportunity that we work with is this land acquisition program. And so our main contact is a gentleman named Mike Mueller. He's out of the Missoula office with the Rocky Mountain Elk folks. And they are in the very final stages of buying some private property in the Ray Creek area, a whole section of land. And they're probably going to sign and finalize that sometime maybe this week, if not in the next couple of weeks. And when that's final, then they're basically buying the land from the landowner, and then they're donating it to the Forest Service. And so that's pretty neat. We're going to do a dedication day, probably sometime in July, and we'd love for you guys to join us if you'd like to. We're going to have the Rocky Mountain Elk folks. We're going to try to have the landowners there. So a lot of our partners, we're getting a lot of funding from the board there. I'm going to forget it as soon as I said that now. Montana Fish and Wildlife Conservation Board around the
Okay.
Cannon Ferry Lake. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
They've done a number of
They have,
projects
yeah.
around the
They
county.
funded a bunch of different stuff,
Yeah.
all these new acronyms, I'm trying to get them straight in my head, so. And I just got an email from Mike this morning that the final funding for that did come through, so, we should be moving forward on that here pretty quick, which is kinda neat, so. Just wanted to bring you up to date on that. Within that same realm, we're actually diving into another process over in Jenkins Gulch. And it's actually, just across the boundary on the Jefferson County side. But it's gonna be the exact same process, basically give or take. And we're just now what we call, phase one of that process. We have 3 different phases as we go through. And so the Ray Creek side is finishing phase 3. But right now we're doing preliminary estimates and bids and trying to get an appraisal for the Jenkins Gulch property. But we're really excited about that as well. Elkhorn, management area, really good chunk of ground to try to get for public land. So, mostly just an FYI on that stuff, unless you had some questions, in regard to that.
How big is that area up there in Jenkinsville?
Well, I don't know, the total. There's 3 different
That's the one
parcels.
right up the head of Jenkinsville.
It is, yeah. David might know better. Do you know what the size of that land that we're looking at?
Pretty close to about 380 acres.
Okay.
It's these parcels right here. They're just on the Broadwater, Jefferson border right here, these 2. And then this would be the Ray Creek property,
Yeah.
so right there, so.
Record property was the Neil Ranch.
That's right. Yes, it was.
That's correct.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've talked to some folks in the community, and they're very excited about it, because they, like the elk hunt in that area. And one person I talked to, like, go out, I had special permission to go elk hunt. I thought I had it all by myself, and he's like, I'll be competing with other people. But folks are really excited about it, because obviously popular area for elk hunting and neat chunk of ground. With the Jenkins Gulch stuff too, technically it is in Jefferson County side. I'll have you guys think about it, but we may actually be coming back and looking for a letter of support from the although it's not Broadwater side, but as we go into grants and looking for funding options, you kind of need to see your guys' thoughts, and if you're supportive of it, have a letter of support on file. Kind of just a heads up, we might be coming back and chatting with you guys about that.
Okay.
Any other questions on the land stuff?
Any questions?
No,
Okay. The only other project, I'm sorry.
I pretty much know where that area is.
Okay. Yeah, the only other just kind of an update, you guys, I'm sure you've been tracking it, but we're moving forward with some of our vegetation work in the Cabin Gulch area. We awarded that a couple weeks ago. I'm sure you've seen it in the paper. And we were able to award locally the RY Timber. Really excited about the project. From as soon as I sat down, folks started updating me and giving me some briefings on that. And it's been quite the road, quite the process to get through that. And to be honest, I think it's a great project for the landscape. We're doing some really neat work. I was up there last week and saw some of the previous treatments we did. I'm not sure what year they were, but we've done some shelter wood treatments. And the region is just coming in really thick. Trees seem to respond really well there. And so it's kind of in the same area that we've done some treatments in the past. And we've got some research prescriptions that we're trying to do, just kind of test some different silviculture treatments. A lot of fire activity that we've got planned in that area as well. So it's a neat project. Excited to see it going. And again, it's RY Timbers, the local folks who are helping us. And from the logging side, we've got some folks from Missoula that have come over, Joe. And it's pretty busy there. We have 4 subdivisions broke out, and we're almost done with one of the subdivisions. They're looking to go into another subdivision here pretty soon. And it's pretty active. I think we have at least 2 ground-based sides that are moving, like faller bunchers. We have a yarder that's working, and then they're bringing a second yarder, and maybe even another ground-based side. So they've got at least 3 right now. When the yarder comes up, we'll have 4 active sites going, and then when time and opportunities are available, they'll probably bring in another faller buncher. So pretty busy. We do have a temporary road closure up there. It's just Monday through Friday, so the road's still open on the weekends to the public. And things are going well, and we're excited to have the project up and running. So
So are we.
yeah, it's a great benefit to the community. It's nice to see something going, and we're excited internally. Our Colin Crook, I don't know if you know Colin or not. He's our timber cell administrator. He's kind of the guy on the ground helping implement, and he's very excited to see things going, and we're excited. This is the first larger scale project we've had in a few years. We've done some roadside work with our hatchet tree, and we're excited to see the project up and running. So, do you have any questions on that?
Any questions?
No, but can we back up
Please.
on the Neal property?
Mhm.
That used to be grazed. Is it gonna be grazed anymore?
From what I don't think I have heard that it's going to be. Well, actually, that's not true.
It'll fall under the Ray Creek
That-
permittee,
yes.
but right now that is not being actively grazed, that
Yeah.
allotment. So they'll still fall under that allotment and be absorbed under how we manage that land around it, will still fall under that kind of management.
Yeah, thank you. As soon as I looked at you, I remember talking to Tracy just last week, and she was telling me the exact same thing. It's going to fall into place with another allotment we have. So. Well, that's all I had. You know, I don't know how much time we have. I'm very excited to be here. Laura and I talked a little briefly this morning. You know, look forward to trying to sit down, maybe grab a cup of coffee, just get to know each other. I'll give you my background, where I'm from, talk about working with each other, and we can dive into that stuff now. I'm sure folks want to go to lunch, but yeah, I'm excited to be here. Sorry.
So where are you from?
So I'm most recently from Colorado. I was on the White River National Forest, about an hour west of Denver up there in the mountains. But I'm originally from Oregon, born and raised in Springfield, which is right next to Eugene. They're very different from each other though, although they're right next to each other. And I started on the Willamette National Forest, and by trade I'm a fish biologist. I was the district fish biologist on the Dillon district down in Colorado. Then when I was on the White River, I spent a few years in the supervisor's office doing some program management and a lot of Section 7 consultation, Endangered Species Act work. Real busy over there in that salmon and bull trout, that kind of stuff. And before that, I was on the district as a fish biologist doing monitoring, and very active timber program on the Willamette, so a lot of NEPA planning work. I've spent a little bit of time working for the Army Corps of Engineers, still doing fisheries work, but that was also in Oregon. And I actually started with the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife as a volunteer and then an intern for a couple of summers doing fisheries work. Yeah, very, very excited to be here. I've been able to get some fire experience, a little bit, you know, doing kind of squad boss role, a little bit of aviation work, resource advisor. Got a little bit of, so when we have fires, the district rangers are called agency administrators. You guys probably know that. And I took a detail in the Aspen district last fall as a deputy district ranger, and had a little bit of agency administration work, but not a lot. It's kind of a new role for me, and so we're set up. We've got some great district rangers on the Helena and the Lewis and Clark. We've got a lot of experience with fire, and so we've already got some good opportunities set up. If we get a fire somewhere else, I'm going to be going there to get some mentoring and shadow with some more seasoned line officers. And if we do end up getting a decent sized fire in the district, they're going to come over and kind of shadow me a little bit. So, but you know, we've got great folks. I've really enjoyed getting to know David over the last few weeks, and as you guys talked about, I think we have some really good relationships with our cooperators, and so that's kind of me in a nutshell. I'm married. My wife and I have 4 boys. A 6, a 3-year-old, and then we went to number 3 and got number 4. And a set of twins that are 14 months old. Very busy. So yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell, I guess.
As a mother of twins.
Oh, you know exactly what we're talking about.
They're 3.
Yeah. No, we have no history of twins in our family, and I'm pretty sure that I thought the doctor was lying to me. I'm like, you're joking. And he's like, no, look, that's 2 right there on the screen. But we've been really fortunate. They've been, well, whatever, it's still work, but they've actually been pretty good babies. Sleep well, eat well, usually pretty happy, so.
They'll only get
Cool.
busier.
Yeah, oh, I know. They're late walkers, which we're excited about, but they're really close. They're walking around the coffee table, you know, and kind of taking a step and falling over. And my wife, I don't know how she does it, because she works from home too. And yeah, it's busy. It's definitely busy.
Enjoy them, they go too fast.
Yeah, it's been really fun. So that's.
Broadway.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, we're excited to be here. We both went to school at Montana State for a couple of years, and then we moved back to Oregon, and have always had Montana on the radar. So we're excited to be back. And yeah, again, I don't know if we wanna grab calendars right now, but I'm very interested in catching up some more and just kicking things around and just getting to know each other more and talk about kind of bigger things in the county and, so yeah, I guess I'll maybe look to Laura as maybe moving forward on that or whatever
Yeah.
your guys' interest is.
You guys wanna just schedule it now?
Sure.
Okay, what works for you?
Let me go to my calendars in my bag right here.
All right. We do have, next week, a meeting with, Shannon from Senator Tester's office.
You know what? I'm glad you just said that. She just called me, and I think she wants me to join you guys, if I remember correctly.
Excellent. We could do, you know what, we could meet maybe half an hour earlier with you, and then,
Someone have a
meet with
pencil?
Shannon together.
Oh, thank you. Nice pencil. What was the date on that? I had not called her back yet. I just got a message on Friday.
The second,
Okay, what time?
10 o'clock,
10 o'clock.
would 9:30 work for you?
Yeah,
The four of us could meet first?
I think so. I'm meeting with the NRCS folks at 8, but I think that probably will take about an hour or so.
Okay,
So, just go with 9:30.
all right.
And where would you guys like to meet at?
How about the Highway 12?
Are they meeting here? Are they coming to see us here?
Oh, that's, yeah, she was gonna meet us downstairs.
Oh, okay, perfect.
But we could do, sorry, we could do, downstairs if you guys want, or go out for coffee.
Well, yeah,
Or
good.
have coffee.
That'd be perfect. Yeah, Highway 12 would be fine. Then we would just come here to meet with those folks.
Let's do that.
And that's
All right.
is that at 10 o'clock? Is that?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, that'd be great.
excellent, thank you.
Still in your pen.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be good.
They have good baked goods too.
Okay, perfect. I like coffee. That's
All
I
right.
drink that much of it, so. Perfect. Well, it's great to meet you guys.
Yes, you
Yeah.
too, thank
Look
you
forward
very
to
much,
working
and
with you.
welcome.
Welcome.
Good to meet you. That's all right, I didn't get your name.
Ann Rouser.
And thank you.
Welcome to the county.
It's good to
I'm
meet you.
sorry, Ann.
No,
No problem.
Thank you.
Oh, you bet.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
And is yours county, is there, there's a county planner?
Yes, Nicole Brown, she's in the basement.
Okay, okay. 'Cause,
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
our
great.
folks that are
Okay,
working
I don't
on
have any cards
the
yet.
economic
They're
and
supposed to show up next couple
the
weeks,
social
so.
aspects, would you like to get in touch with her? Is that?
Perfect,
okay?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and is your contact
Yeah,
information
thank
on
you.
the website?
Great.
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Mike,
Great.
yeah,
Yeah, nice to
I've
meet
heard
you.
your name several
Thanks.
times already, so. No, it's been good. It's been all positive, so. Good information. That's what Dan was saying. Yeah. Anyways, good to meet you guys.
Thank you.
1:45, I sent you an email.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
How's it going?
All right.
Tim, I'm Corey.
Anything else
Pleasure
for
to
the
meet you.
good of
Okay.
You bet.
4 kids.
Tim, that would be great.
Tim, where's
Yeah.
is your email
All
on
right,
this?
anything else? No, we will recess for lunch. See you at 1:30.
Is it on the website, if I go there?
Interesting morning.
Yeah, yeah.
Or do you want to write it on
Do you
here?
want a copy of all this stuff for your minutes?
Yeah.
Will be good.
Okay,
Can I get a copy of lots of things?
sure.